So cool that we get to meet across the world every day. All right. All right. So first, if we have our, can everyone hear us out there? I'm not sure who's muted and who's not. We have Freddie with the hacker hand. All right.
My slide's different. Do you mind if I share my screen instead?
Just your slide's different? Okay.
We have to refresh. Hold on.
Refresh.
That better?
Have y'all seen Social Network?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, it doesn't have the crossed out, right? In the new one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I still have the old one.
6th week Thursday, right?
It's 6.
Is yours on 6-3 Wednesday?
No, it isn't 6th week.
No, he double checks. But there's 2 6-3 Thursdays now.
One of them got me, but I think, see, the new one, the new one isn't crossed out.
Sam edited one of
Well,
them.
I thought the new one also, but.
Okay, so it's the other 6-3 Thursday. All right, I found it. But now we don't know if this is everyone's 6-3 Thursdays. All right.
Just 2 6-3 Thursdays?
There are. All right. Can you get to the bottom of that? All right, so we'll do this one.
All right, I'll try to be quick. So, are we unmuted?
Yes.
Yeah, now you're sharing it out to
Oh, yes,
the.
I am. Sorry, I thought you were opening. It's fine. This is fine. We're having.
All right, so, after,
Here, got it. It's open now. We're good.
All right, perfect.
So after what feels like days of not doing, of not getting any progress, yesterday,
Raise your voice a little bit.
yesterday I was finally able to, get all the motors moving simultaneously with the Arduino shield. So, that was a step. That means I can finally get to move on to the next step, which is actually doing stuff with the EMG data. And I've been willing to do that for a while. A little caveat here is that the way I fixed it is not really clear to me. So that might be an issue, but for now it is working and I'm happy with that. Another important update is that I decided to switch from the 3D printed hacker hand to a laser cut hacker hand, which is in this image. You can see I'm just changing from the blue hand to the orange hand because it's easier to assemble, and I think it's easier to get to the servo motors and just work on it in general. And after talking with the teachers and after talking with Greg, I think it's important that the students also have fun while playing with the hand as much, and also have fun when they record data and program in. So, that's one of the reasons I'm doing this. For today's goals, I just need to figure out some limits for the servos individually, right? I need certain values that need to be included in the code. Each servo is different, so, I have to play around with that. And I today will finally be using the EMG spiker box data. So, yeah, excited for that.
All right.
Play the video?
Yes, this is a
I
demo.
brought a clip. I'm not sure what they brought in, but it's like from talk shows.
Not playing.
Here it comes. No, it's gonna work.
There we go.
All right. All you see is just the motors moving sequentially, Like, ideally, if it was connected to the hand, it will be moving one finger at a time.
So what should we be seeing there?
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, you can kind of see it.
So you can see this.
Gotcha. Interesting.
All right.
Yeah.
Well done.
Finally.
Okay.
Snaps.
When you're ready to something that kind of stumps you.
All right, here we go. Sam with the readiness potential.
Yeah. So this I don't know if this is. Oh, so I updated the other Thursdays.
All right, so we'll go switch back and forth.
Do you have the other one open?
I have the other one open. I can
Okay, yeah.
show.
No, we'll go back and forth because it's fine.
Okay, and I'll
I'd
present,
rather set a lot of the trend.
and then.
And I think I put mine like at the very end.
Here, maybe
The last slide.
this is yours, the last one here.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay. I'm just gonna paste it in yours.
Okay.
No, it doesn't work like PowerPoint. No.
I think you have to paste it directly on top of it.
Once you start sharing, I'll tell you if it's correct.
There we go.
Yeah.
So now you should see it on yours. This really bothers me that we have two things to say.
You need to have like an annotation that's like today, like in parentheses.
But how is the date? I mean, like, I don't know. It was like one mistake and everyone's afraid to edit the mistake. So that tells me something that we're not doing something right here, that you guys don't feel confident that you can rename files.
All right. Ready?
We're ready.
Okay, so not much of a difference. It's very similar to the way that.
No, try the next slide. Maybe it's the next
Oh,
slide.
wait. Here, let me.
You'll see the bump and prompted as opposed to the one that's old doesn't have one. And I'm sorry, but I didn't change the date. That's not correct. That's not correct.
It's not the right slide.
That's not correct.
Okay, let me reload. Let me reload.
Sorry.
that real quick.
I
Sorry.
think the slide to 6 3/3, and I think that messed people up. One was 6 3 Wednesday, one was 6 4 Thursday, or 6.
I think
I
Wednesday
changed it, but now
was
people don't know which
Tuesday.
one's which.
Maybe Tuesday.
I made a mistake early on. I put the wrong date and then it was getting copied and people were using the
I
wrong
think
date.
so.
And then
Who
someone
else
fixed the
copied it? 'Cause I
date, but
originally
then
just
someone else
copied-
fixed
I
the
made a copy
day.
of this.
So now we have two files.
And then the
Thursday,
Second,
third.
okay, let's.
So the
pop
third
that
slide
to
total.
1%. Okay,
Yes.
nobody else better be editing their slides during the presentation.
All right.
Yep.
Awesome. So very similar to what I was showing yesterday, we have a data trace of prompted motor activity. This is, I believe this is a data set that I collected where Tim was tapping me on the shoulder or tapping me on the side. The main issues that I'm trying to handle right now are making sure that the plotting is done in a way to where I can think more like analytically about the results. So the biggest issue that I'm having, so as you can see on the right, the two problems are getting help setting the X labels and ticks properly. So if ET or Stanislav could help me with that today, that'd be great. Stanislav,
Well, we have a complete workshop and I put in yours the evoke potential stuff. So you're going to have the entire day from 10 o'clock till 2 p.m. to figure out
awesome.
in Python, not in MATLAB.
Gotcha.
All right.
So we'll rewrite the code. But
It's all right. You're going to have a scrum of people to help you. So.
Sounds great. Sounds great. But so there's the X ticks and labels from. You can see that it's we showed -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. That those are correct in terms of seconds, I believe. We don't necessarily. It's not a super important problem to show like minor ticks in between. But the thing that I really want to get correct is the Y scale. So trying to make sure that I can tell what sort of like when I'm seeing this bump, is that 50 microvolts? Is that 1,000 micro? Like, is this something that I should be ignoring?
In EFIS, we often don't care about that.
Okay.
Because of the
So I won't do
voltage
that.
can change. I mean, EEG it kind of makes sense for, but like for spikes and stuff like that, we typically don't put a Y-axis because it's the shape and the temporal components that are consistent. The other stuff is dependent about how far away you are. But I think in this one, EEG probably should be the same across the world. So we can get that, but I just feel like focus on the shape and the temporal and the statistics, right?
Yeah.
So what's concerning about me is that why is your prompted one popping through the 95% confident interval, but you don't even seem to escape 50%?
So this is something that Stanislav was talking to me about yesterday and saying that he thinks, and again, I don't fully understand this, but it would be better if I could have him, maybe if you want to chime in at all, Stanislav, he was saying that maybe the 95% confidence interval using that Monte Carlo reshuffling and adding the standard deviation is not the best way of examining this data because, and if I butcher this, Stanislav, please interject, but he was saying that we should expect 5% of the data to come out of those 95% confidence intervals.
The TV in the which office doesn't work. Can you fix it or someone else?
Etienne has to live stream it for it to work. I don't think we have been live streaming the morning meetings, but we can start doing that. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, gotcha. But yeah, so Stanislav was saying that we should expect 5% of the data to come out of those confidence intervals, which again, I don't know how to explain confidently, but I was thinking that the fact that we see that burst out of the 95% confidence intervals at the time course we would expect, like just before 0 seconds, that shows us that this is some sort of anomaly happening at 0 or right before 0. But again, one of the things that'll be helpful, like the reason why I wanted to make a voltage scale on the y-axis that I could use in an analytical way would be so that I could say, okay, this is about 50 microvolts. I can tell that is what I would expect for EEG data. And also I would be able to tell the readiness potential if that's in the proper voltage range of about 10 microvolts.
Can I say something in my defense?
We always say this in public, but
Yeah,
we
so
electrophysiologists really only care about voltage when it's intracellular. Because you're playing games with, like,
can I say something in my defense?
Well, you're actually.
Hold on, we have Stanislav saying something here.
Yeah.
Fire
So-
away.
Yeah.
Are you muted or what's going on?
No. I don't know.
No.
Can you hear
Oh,
me?
maybe my volume's on the TV.
One second.
We can hear you,
Hold on.
Stan.
You're
We can hear
coming
you.
through the TV.
Yeah, but the people in the room cannot hear it.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, so I completely agree with the Greg that voltage is not something that absolute voltage is not something you should try to figure out, because it can really depend on how much gel you put, where is the electrode, etc., etc. So that's not important. Important is this Monte Carlo simulation. What I wanted to say is that maybe there is some the way Monte Carlo was done in your file that you sent me yesterday has some issues. We can discuss that, but the Monte Carlo is the way to go, in my opinion. But we can revisit the code. So
We also have the code from the previous time. So this part of the experiment has been done before. So we were able to easily record, not easily. I don't know. I have no idea how much hard work. But I've seen posters with the ERP for the movement potential happening well outside the confidence intervals. So maybe what we can do is dig up their code and just put in your data to see how it does in a previous version, and maybe use that to debug what's going on.
Also, yesterday you sent me some signal, and that signal definitely has something in it that's above confidence interval. I changed the code for Monte Carlo in different ways, and it always pops up about 95% confidence interval. So
Well, one thing could be is if in that recording file there are like epochs where you're touching it and it shoots way out, that could kind of move the average window to be too big for you. So we have to make sure that the thing we're shuffling is real EEG data. And so we can take a look at that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Remember on that slide you had yesterday's slide where you had like the EEG, you had all those deflections in there. Any of those deflections that get shuffled in are going to move your confidence intervals way far away, right? Because it's just anytime, like when you average in a 0 into your stuff, it really starts to knock things down. Same things when you average in a really big number. So
sort of on those notes, I think that what I'll do with the Y scale, instead of trying to establish an absolute metric, I'll just try and establish some relative metric between because hopefully that readiness potential should be about 1/5 the size of the depolarization that's related to or the activity that's related to just normal EEG.
cool.
Was the voluntary data what we recorded 2 days ago, and the prompted was what we recorded yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah, that prompted one. This is the one where you have. It'd be cool. I'd like to see what that looks like
With those.
when you align it to prompt instead of live.
We recorded that data, and I'm going to process it. I was writing code last night to do that.
All right, that'd be exciting to see. And then we can also do a little distribution of your reaction time. And I noticed when I was watching you do it, your reaction times are all over the place. Sometimes you're very fast, and sometimes you're very slow. So then you can also segment those things and figure out what does fast and slow reaction times look like in the EEG response. And there's that's a rich data set, even though it's just 5 minutes of recording. So.
And was voluntary really 47 trials? I was thinking 26.
I believe so, but I'd have to go back to look.
Yeah, so I think it was a reduced number of trials and you had error. So comparing prompted to voluntary.
Yeah, the voluntary one is when you did 10 minutes and it was close to 100, and then we said that the first half seemed better, so that was the 47.
Yeah, we didn't get your picture of your shaved head on yesterday's slide as a major project update. So.
Are you measuring the tapping, like with a reflex hammer or something?
No, the way that actually Greg had a really good idea for how to tell when the prompt is occurring and when the actual the participant, me in this case, is doing. Greg said that what I should do is use Tim to press one button to make an annotation for the prompt, and then me not react to Tim touching me, but instead react to the annotation popping up on the screen. Does that make sense? I can explain that again. If that was kind of.
He's just tapping an event marker, and when he sees the event marker, he pushes another event marker. So we have two separate event markers, one for the tap and one for the.
We measure spread of reaction time and prompts.
Yeah, that's cool. And then we can do a lot with that. So that was kind of what I did in grad school. Is looking at those reaction times, and you'll see different. You'll probably have I was noticing on you probably have a bimodal distribution of you have fast ones and slow ones depending on maybe what cycle your brain was in.
So you can find a range and then you establish some cutoffs.
No, it's just interesting just to analyze that.
But do you think I should just analyze fast and slow reaction times all in the same?
I don't think we should do that. Just
okay. Gotcha.
Okay. You don't do any of that stuff, but these are like follow-on figures that you do in a paper, like to really understand some things. But don't do that in the very beginning. That's all right.
Awesome. Thank you.
This may have been yesterday's. 2-6 is a disaster. All right.
We apologize.
I think there's some good news for more though.
Good news.
Yep.
I think it's my turn. This is definitely not the right slide. So, do you have that?
Hey, maybe everyone should take a minute and just rename one of the files and make sure that your slide is in the right file.
So I
actually.
They're both 6-3 Thursdays.
Okay, I'm in 6-3 Thursday with an F.
No, just rename that on Wednesday.
But then this one has the right
We
date.
need to get in order to give us the right slide or put it on the right file. We just need one A and one B.
No, we're going to rename it to one Wednesday, one Thursday, and we're going to do things properly. We're scientists here, man. So we're going to make this one is going to be 6-2 Wednesday. So it'll be 6-1.
I'm gonna stop sharing.
And now everyone go make sure that their Thursdays are in the Thursdays and their Wednesdays are in the Wednesdays, and then we'll pick it up again.
Okay, yeah, I'm not Thursday.
Can anyone hear me?
You can hear you, Nora, but we'll give us a second. We had a major disaster.
I just wanted to say that I don't have a slide for today because I was busy all last night and all day today with the visa
No worries.
and it actually got accepted. I'm going to be in Ann Arbor on June 8th. I'm very excited about it.
So you had your government appointment yesterday?
Today morning, which was yesterday at your time, but yeah. It took a lot of time, but it went great. I'm going to be getting my visa on June 7 during the day my time, and I'll be flying out on June 7 at night my time. So I'll be at Ann Arbor at 8 p.m. on June 8th.
It's like a baton, like you're gonna hand back, you get the visa. All right.
That's the best slide.
Is everyone in Thursdays? Got the Thursday stuff?
Yeah.
All right, so you take it over Thursday again.
Okay.
And we don't have to worry about that until next month, and then I'll F it up again.
Share. Okay, so post slide. Okay, cool. That's me. Do you have your mic on, Greg?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. So we had a real blast with our laser cutting workshop yesterday. I'll admit, the bigger focus that I was on yesterday was actually getting this wrench printed. It's currently still stuck to the printing board, but that's a short job. So I've completed at this point. I've also completed a mock-up of what I want the guilty knowledge test to look like for my initial skin galvanic response analysis. So what I'm going to do is there's another competing type of test known as a cognitive knowledge test. It's very similar to the guilty knowledge test, but I want to do a mock-up for how that would work because it's more of interspersing guilt assumed questions with baseline to see if there's a difference in how those interact and how they respond. So I'm going to construct one of those so when we get the official GSR kit in, I can take some measurements of that, compare it to the GKT. And what I also want to do is collect some GSR data with my more rudimentary skin galvanic model just to see if I can get some good data, get some friends. At least just to see if there's anything going on.
Yeah, that paper we read yesterday, that was some pretty good news. I felt. I mean, I thought they were doing a pretty decent job at figuring that out. So it would be good to also maybe do a lit review today to find out if that fell from grace or if that's still legit. So, but at least, if we replicate the experiment in theory, so maybe if people stop using it, it was because of other reasons, right?
So I think what happened, at least as far as I can see, is that this card exam is a really common example of a lie detection test because it's really easy because the person will understand that if it's in ascending or descending order that their card that they secretly picked is coming up. So it's more of it creates more stress. So it's easier to analyze because it amplifies that response in a way. So this is pretty common.
Because you're anticipating your own lie.
Exactly, yeah.
And maybe in real life we don't anticipate it. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the type of lie, but at least it'll be good.
Because I feel like if this were true, then in every court, why wouldn't we just have this in every court? Just have people hook themselves up on the stand or something. It's like,
Rights of the accused.
Damn rights. Okay.
Also,
Give me.
Left is left.
Okay.
Yes, the lefts.
Excellent. So yeah, I thought I ordered those kits. When did I order them? Like
It was like last week.
last week. So I must not. I think maybe I did that thing which every once in a while I didn't hit the final button because it looks like on Amazon you're done, but there's one other step.
Yeah, that review order is fine.
Maybe I messed it up. All right. So I ordered. So you might be getting 4 or 6, depending. It says bought 2 more. All right. All right.
Awesome.
Excellent. Next.
Oh wait, no.
Oh, awesome. That is,
Right.
yeah, should I just talk?
Yeah, you can talk.
Okay, we're good. All right. Hey guys, so here's an update for my project. We talked to Greg, I talked to ETN about basically modeling risk in some manner, and we talked about the 3 inputs that we wanted. I mentioned that yesterday, like poker odds, expected value, and the number of players in the round. And so basically I had to take all those 3 inputs and combine them into an equation that hopefully outputted a certain risk level. And so I basically created the scale from 0 to 100, 0 being low risk and 100 being high risk. And essentially I would take those 3 factors, and while the rounds are being played, so I did a couple of test runs, and as each round is developing, like when the flop is hit, the turn and river, the poker odds change because of the poker calculator I mentioned yesterday. And so I can input those poker odds, the pot amount, call amount, calculate an EV value, and then that will all output a risk level for the user or the player. And so that's really cool because you can kind of see that in the spreadsheet right there. As the rounds go on, you can see with different hands, like depending on the strength of your hand, sometimes it gives a very low risk, sometimes it gives a high risk. But I basically partitioned the risk levels into 5 different categories and 5 different risk assessments. So there's very high risk, medium risk, low risk, and very low risk. And so basically what that allows us to do now is hopefully we're going to associate these risk values while we're actually getting real data when I'm hooked up to the GSR and pulse and EKG and all that. Hopefully we'll be able to connect these risk levels with certain physiological stress responses, and then that will give us a ground truth that we can then input into the computer AI model. And if we don't get a pattern, I don't anticipate getting a pattern the first time around, but we'll see what we get, and then hopefully we can work with that to create a usable.
Yeah, no,
model.
this is it. I mean, so that little column you have there are categories at which we can train the neural network to, and then the idea would be that during the river turn or flop betting cycles, you can predict the category, right, for the person. So that's excellent.
Yep.
The only question I have is when do we collect the data and what epoch, right? So like if it's during betting, and are we looking at seconds after betting or before betting?
Yeah, so it would be the interval. So the second the cards are displayed, then the interval between those betting intervals, like that. I mean,
from when you see it and then when you bet.
Bet again, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So this is a variable time.
Yes.
So no, that seems.
We'll see what works out.
I wonder how it'll be affected with whether or not the person understands like their hand. You know, because like if somebody's experienced with poker, then they'll have maybe a more immediate response.
That's a really good point.
But I think that kind of is the physiological underpinning of beginner's luck, right? Because they don't know the risks, so they don't know. And I think that's
definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think weird mention. I think Nikian mentioned this actually, but it's a good point that in a way we're kind of assuming one of the assumptions we have is that the players have internalized the poker odds to some extent because we're almost like we're assuming that with the model at least, right? But yeah, hopefully it works out.
That's cool. I mean, what's cool is that we don't need to calculate this in real time. We just need to calculate this for the training set, and then predict that in real time.
Predict it, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, this seems like a real tractable project. So well done.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Snaps all around. All right. All right. Who's next?
Me, I think. Yeah, that's me. So yeah, yesterday we had our laser cutter lab. That thing up there, the little ornament, was my final product. Also finished my wrench yesterday, just waiting my turn to print. So that was all very successful. Yesterday I took more data from blanks of myself, because again, it was a busy day. Put it all into Edge Impulse, or at least tried to. I think I did it right. They're all JSON files, but I kind of need someone's help because the model fails to run every time I run it. But I basically labeled the old data and all the new data and the data from Sarah, where all the blanks were, and then I labeled the spikes in data that weren't blanks and just labeled them X. Something to change in the next few days would obviously be to differentiate between the actual movement, so it's not just not a blank, but like what type of movement that's not a blank, so then we can filter those out better. I have I think 100 data points right now. And then when I run the model, hopefully it should be an easy technical fix today. I have a model to work with, mess around with the structure of, and add and take data from, and then see what my accuracy is. And
So that raw data, that's a blink?
That's a blink. And I have to shift the perspective because right now it's I did the default 100 milliseconds before, 300 after. I want to shift that probably to the left so I can see more of before, because I don't care about it going back to.
Oh, this is Stanislav's script.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah. No, but yeah, so we definitely want to do that before.
Yeah, I just ran it immediately, but I think I need to move it.
Yeah, we can look at your data. We can plot your data and figure out what's a good window for each one, depending on when that threshold gets.
So that's it. It'll be up and running, and then it's just taking everyone's time again. I know it's a busy day, but I'm gonna start forcing.
All right, plug on through. Yeah, that's cool. And so now you have your 3D printing skills. We can work on some glasses and stuff.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So is that one orange line is one?
I think so. Yeah, this is it generated.
It does look like a blink. It just looks like a blink, a half a blink stretched out. So I think that's correct. So.
It successfully generated features. Everything was fine.
But it sounds like that script works, so that's good news.
Everything went in there perfectly.
And maybe we can do some of that in the Python class today.
Yeah.
One of your things.
So the edge impulse is to separate the blink epochs from the non-blink epochs?
I did that, but there might be a way for it to do that.
That's what you're using it for?
Yeah, and then I'm just trying to see if it even recognizes.
Yeah, so there's two steps. So when you record it, and for example with your stuff, when you have labels within Spike Recorder, you have one file that has multiple labels in it. It's like every press, would be in there. However, Edge Impulse requires that every data just has one set in it. So if you record, you can't have more than one blink or more than one press in there. So therefore, what Stanislav made was a script that takes our data file, feeds it all the times, and makes little tiny files, in which it can then upload through JSON into the Edge Impulse. And therefore,
so these are all the blinks. These are all the
these are all. So you have one that's all blinks, one that are all non-blinks, and then this will make a neural network that would be able to identify those two classes.
It'd be interesting to see because the blinks are, it's almost like a test case because the blinks are so easy to detect, like
Yeah.
how the neural network work versus just a standard threshold.
But it's not that, I mean, if you look at her data, I can't tell. I mean, I would be hard pressed to figure out what is a saccade and what is a blink.
Yeah, there are. Once
'cause
you
it's
start moving around, it's very. I think it'll be.
But I think if you get enough of those cases in there, then I think you'd be able to do it. I mean, I'm sure there are enough subtleties that a machine can figure that out pretty easily. But yeah, I would have thought the same thing. But when I was looking at her raw data, I was like,
the up-down movement.
Yeah, up-down movements and just, you know,
left-right.
Yeah, when she's, you can tell the files where she's knows that she's being recorded blinking because they're really clean, and then the ones where she's like forgets that she's recording, the data's all over the place because your head's moving, your eyes are moving, and stuff like that. So
that's all.
That's cool, yeah. So, but it is. I mean, I think we're all going to have those challenges, but you have the cleanest signal to have to deal with those challenges first. So good.
Cool. This is me. Hello, everybody. So, Greg gave me some GoPros a couple of days ago, actually. One of them is charged up and I believe has a waterproof case, which is exciting. I want to make extra sure that it is waterproof before I put it in water. I have a charger for the other coming and some more SD cards. You can see.
So you think it'd be better if it's submerged with the fish?
No, I think it's an option.
Okay.
Greg got also bottom weighted thermometers instead of the floaty ones we had before, so you can see there sort of how big it is in relation to a couple of our guys. We decided though that it's going to be put in the observation tanks instead of just hanging out with them all the time, so it'll be something new for them to interact with and play with. Etienne and I met and came up with some 4th of July goals that I'll be putting into my lab notebook soon. And we got some plants added to the aquarium, and a little algae reservoir thingy. And then today, the plan is to send an email to Dr. Burkhart, who is the author of the paper that my study is modeled on. And I'm going to also review his paper to see, kind of get a list of everything that it doesn't really tell us, and hopefully be able to fill in those gaps soon and make my study better. And then I'm still working on Deep Lab Cut. I've sort of just intermittently been installing everything needed to use the GPU on the laptop that Chris gave me. So hopefully, I know it's a busy day today, so I might have to take it home and install in the evening. And then we'll see. Go from there.
Yeah, so the challenges we had on the paper is we didn't know if for them to play with it, did it have to be novel? Did they have to explore this thing for the first time and start playing with it? But I guess then that would violate one of his rules, which is that they cannot do it for function, right? It was like, but maybe exploring something is a function. You have to find out if something's safe or not. So maybe it should be
behavior, right? It has to be a repetitive behavior, right? In one of his.
Right. So we were wondering. So he talks in the paper about having 3 epochs per fish, and they had like 3 fish or something like that. And then they would set up a recording. They would have the fish in its own tank and set up the recording, and then have a person observing. And then they even said that the person didn't have to be in the room because they could be outside the room and still hear the tinging of the thermometer. So, but the only question that we had was that. Was that like a test chamber? Like, did they put the fish in the thing with and then restart only for those 2 hours? Was it exposed to the thermometer, or was it always in there? And then they just picked 2 random hours, which that seems like it wouldn't be the case.
It seems to me that a thermometer is something that stays in a tank at all times.
Okay.
Because you need to know what the temperature is, because fish have a specific temperature that they need to be.
Well, that's how it was originally discovered. But then maybe when they made this discovery, then they tried to do it a bit more controlled.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, because maybe after he put it in there for the first time, then he started playing with it, right?
Right.
I don't know. I feel like that's a bit of a big omission in the paper because
there were
novelty and play are different things, right?
Weren't very clear. So hopefully, when I begin communicating with him, maybe I'll be able to ask those questions.
Nice.
Excellent.
In 2 days.
All right.
It's the last mission, you know.
Is that everybody?
I think so.
We didn't need we no car updates.
No
No car updates. Okay. All right. All right. So you guys have another session in about 15 minutes on Python. So in that drive, we had those project ideas, and I didn't see people signing up, so I signed people up.
Oh, we have to sign up for one of these? What were we going to do? All of them?
I don't know. I'm not sure how it works. Maybe ATN can speak on that.
I think it was like Nick proposed it in the itinerary. I don't know whether you only had one vote or two votes. I would say if you're interested in only one project, of course, only put one time your name, but a maximum two that we have, that we pick one or two topics for today. And if you like the session, then we can repeat that kind of activity in the next weeks and then pick the other projects or have new projects.
Okay. Yeah, I'm wondering now, hey, Stanislav, on that first project, they have pick a card GUI, but is that GUI going to be done in Python, or would that be done in the embedded code for the specific timing of the...
Pick a card, you mean for the small screen? Or
I'm just wondering, could we use a web page to flicker?
Yeah, they can implement it in web page. They can implement it in MicroPython. I think for that small screen, I think it works with the MicroPython. And they can implement it.
Yeah, I've had some experience with MicroPython before. I don't know if the workshop can also cover MicroPython.
It could be. Maybe that group is. I'm not sure if Nick knows. MicroPython's it's like Arduino has C. It's just like you do Arduino with Python. It just has libraries that allow you to do
Python coding on the
Arduino.
Yeah, but
I don't know. I said that without knowing anything. Okay, is that true? What I just said?
Yeah, I would do it in a low-level C because it's fast, and she will probably need to have the data recording in the background also. So
okay,
I don't know.
So maybe we should skip that one and then have the other three projects.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Or maybe look to see if if you can access the timer functions from MicroPython, and then that would work. But it seems
Generating time frequency images.
yeah, so we can go through the project. So I wrote down EEG evoked potential because that's basically your project, and who else is doing that? And maybe Noor's. And that's about it. You guys do EKG and skin.
Yeah.
You're doing EEG and you're doing EMG. All right, so maybe for the EMG one that might be interesting. So, but for the next one, so that one was just basically how do you make those plots that he was looking at today, like the things where you get the EEG averaged over an event and it just ramps up. The next one is mostly about how to make, like if you have FEEGs and you think, for example, in Noor's project where we think there's a frequency component to it, then figuring out how to convert the EEG into a frequency domain to be able to train it in a convolutional neural network or something like that is what I think this next proposal is. And then the fourth one I just put in there but you already figured it out. So it's just kind of like walking through the whole how the sausage is made on the EEG, like how do you splice up your data files. And maybe we can even combine some of these, that you do that first and then we can then do the event triggered stuff. So anyway, it's like, I like the idea. It's a cool idea, but I just don't know if we have enough diversity in our projects to have breakouts, but
No, I think
That's what we do.
as you said, the last two proposals I think make total sense, right? To have the spiker box events in the Edge Impulse, we can do that, and the time frequency images.
Yeah, maybe it could just be one. Yeah,
I think this should work. We can talk to Nick, and then we'll see. Yeah, because he's given like it's described here, like a short orientation session, and then we'll see how we can like fit in his workflow best. Because I never participated in one of his sessions, so I can also not tell you that much more.
Okay.
But
well, maybe at the beginning, yeah, maybe you can send Nick, Sam, you can send Nick your EEG with the 2 event markers in it. Maybe some eye blink stuff as well, so that we could have something that we can, some real data we can look at. All right, so that's at 10 o'clock, guys, and I didn't have a link to put into the email, so I just told them to come to the TV room in the office. So, because I'm not sure how we're gonna. It looked like there was something else, that there was like a Evite. I didn't know what that meant, so I got scared. So I just dropped it. Okay.
So where shall we meet for the next session? Should we just put a link in there?
Yeah, let's put a link in there, and then we can schedule that so that we can put it on YouTube Live, and then we can see it in the virtual office, and then people who are watching on YouTube can find it.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
See you there.
See you in 8 minutes. All right. Bye, guys. Ciao.